All right, good morning. Welcome everybody. We're over the hump. It's Thursday. I've got my coffee. We'll see what happens today. We had a good afternoon yesterday on the market. I think if people were watching. But before we get into all that, just thanks for everybody that is joining. If you are watching this on the replay and want to catch it live, we do go Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. Pacific time to about 8:45. So we go about 45 minutes to an hour on the live stream, talk about the market, talk about our TFSAs, and just what's happening, what everybody's investing in, and all that good stuff. And then we do usually get sidetracked, so it'll be great to have you join on. If not, the replay always on the channel, so you can always catch it. And I always appreciate everybody that can join live. So we usually have a few people, regulars. We'll see, as it usually takes a few minutes for YouTube to start to push that video out that we are actually live as people show up. But we do have the regulars, so make sure you do say hi so we know who is here watching. Don't be afraid if you're watching and you haven't said something or said good morning. Definitely don't be scared. It's a good group of people here that we usually have a good conversation. So good morning. And Candace, good morning. Welcome. Hopefully your day trading goes well today. I haven't looked too much on what's happening. I know you're into the oil, so I don't know how that's going. We'll see. I do have a few articles to kind of pull up because it's earnings for banks. We figured we might as well pull up the rest of the bank earnings. I know a few people have those individual stocks, and it's kind of good to kind of check that out. And then a couple other articles, kind of one more article actually talking about GICs, because we've had that conversation. It's come up a few times on the channel. And Stan, good morning, welcome. It's always good to have you come and join us on the live stream. It's great. Nice hot coffee today. Roll into the day. So we had a good day yesterday in the afternoon. Things seem to be a bit mixed to the start today. Market maybe not knowing what it wants to do, but we had a nice afternoon after. If you watched a bit of the speech from the Fed, from Powell, and they're kind of hinting at slowing, not stopping rate increases, but kind of slowing. So that was I believe the reason, for the market doing what it did yesterday in the afternoon. So that was kind of nice to see on the portfolio. If we can carry it on, because it's December, it is December now, so we might get that Santa rally after all. I don't know. We can always be optimistic. I'm always an optimist, so hopefully we might see that this month. That would be nice to go. On that note, obviously the title of the live stream is buying Brookfield Asset Management. So being the first of the month as part of the StreamYard, basically the money saving challenge for the year. I did do my fractional purchase of that this morning. So I worked it out. I'm trying to keeping it legitimate. So I worked out, because normally the subscription is $25 US a month. So I went into Google currency, converted it to what it would be in Canadian, and deposited it into my TFSA, and so purchased a fractional share of Brookfield Asset Management, and it was just over a half of a share. It's been doing really well lately. Actually, I should have bought like a lot of it, but just the way it works out. But it was $33, worked up to $33.54. So new fractional purchase on that. So own just over one now, which is nice, and we'll continue on with that money saving challenge for the whole year to see how that does. It's kind of nice to have anything, because I mean that would have been gone to paying StreamYard. So I don't know if anybody else is doing a challenge. I know there was a couple people that had left comments on the video. I will do an update video on that, because it's always fun to kind of see how it's going, just on that one stock that I picked. And so that's good. That was kind of my morning. That's really the only thing I purchased outright with plan. But there was a dividend that came in from TransAlta Renewables came in, and I obviously don't make enough to buy a brand new share, and that one doesn't allow fractional purchases. So I just put that little bit that was left. I had to double check what it was. Obviously, I'll share it in my dividend video. It was just over $2, and I put it into VFE. So I just put a fractional purchase on that just now too. So not too much, but the big one was, or not the big one, but the one from it's just nice to get, even if it's a couple bucks. put it back in. So, oh yeah, I guess everybody else, because I missed that. Obviously, I missed the ex-dividend date on I'll get it next month, Candace, on Div for that one I bought 100 shares with for the 100th, the 100th anniversary, and that's awesome. $23 from Div. I guess there's maybe a few other people that have maybe some dividends rolled in at the end before the end of the month. That's nice. $23. And did you, Candace, when you get that with Diversified, do you just buy new shares with it, or did you put it somewhere else? And MC, good morning. I think I missed you there. Welcome back. Always good to have you. But yeah, it's nice to get those emails and see the emails in pop up in your pop up in your inbox in the morning that you've got money. It's always kind of nice, even if the market or portfolio is down. Oh, there you go. All your dividends this morning is XEG. So that, for people who don't know, that's the ETF. That's the oil. XEG is I can never remember all the names. XEG, iShares, S&P TSX Cap Energy Index ETF. I know, Candace, that one's a popular with you. So there you go. Good call. Good. Nothing wrong with that. I've got a few articles we can share, or I can share, and we'll kind of go over, because the rest of the banks are posting their earnings, which I'll pull up. Just not much. Obviously, they made money, but banks seem to always make money, right? But they've kind of missed. These ones missed. So there's a few. Well, sorry, TD topped estimates, and CIBC and BMO missed estimates. So let's start with the good. I guess the good news, if you have TD, because they've topped estimates. So that's always good. Let's share this. Let's share this screen into the stream. There we go. Top estimate: rising rates lifting income from lending. So they're making more spread, which is good, I guess, for people that, well, not good if you're borrowing money, obviously, but good if you own TD. And I always find this interesting, though. They're really starting to bump up what they are holding in their, for potential loan losses. Let me just find that, what TD is. So TD has set aside $617 million in provisions for credit losses. And analysts projected only 500 million. So they've really bumped that up, I think, more than people were expecting. And that seems to be what is happening because of that. So it's always good for MC's insight here. Royal and TD are the premier banks. Always go for the leaders in the space rather than the laggers. Yeah, those seem to be two of the top ones for sure. The two of the big ones. Royal Bank, MC especially, biggest bank. So TD tops estimates. So that's the good. I guess that's the good news if you're looking at that. But then we can go to the other. Let's pull the other two that did it. And we'll start with let's start with CIBC. Let's start with CIBC. So CIBC missed their estimates, which is I guess unfortunate if you own CIBC. But what I was kind of interested in how much they're actually holding aside. So CIBC net income fell 18%. Just made it's funny when you say just made, but 1.19 billion Canadian in the quarter. But they'd have set aside 436 million in provisions for credit losses, which it's coming up more than what analysts are predicting. So it'll be interesting to see how that all does pan out with the big banks going forward, right? They're obviously preparing for thinking there's going to be issues. And morning, Brian. Always good to have you here. Always good. And then the last one is BMO. Let's pull up BMO. Let's add that in. There we go. It always takes so many clicks to get the screen to share. There's got to be a better way to do it, but I haven't figured it out yet. So BMO missing estimates as well. How much did they make? Let's find this here. Their net income doubled. And they're setting aside 226 million. So they're all it's less than the analyst projected. So setting aside 226 million for credit losses. They let's see how much they made. Their net income more than doubled to 4.48 billion. But yeah, so BMO they're down. All the banks are down. What did it say here for BMO? It's down 3.5% this year compared with the 7.5% drop of the S&P TSX Commercial Banks Index. So they seem to be doing better than the average, but they are down on that one. So there we go. I don't know who owns individual bank stocks outside of. I mean, all the ones I have are in BTC.Y, which is basically all of them. And I haven't seen an article for National Bank yet. I don't know if they've reported or not, but if I see that, I'll dig it up as we go. If anybody knows, that's the other last of the big ones on there. And one more article on, and this kind of comes back to what we were talking about yesterday. That the conversation seems to be a lot of GICs lately. So I found this one popped up on there, and I think it's worth sharing. So, which I found interesting. So RBC is saying there's obviously very strong influx of GICs in recent months. $25 billion going into GICs for RBC, and that just kind of goes to say, I guess Canadians like their GICs, especially when they're, we've talked about some of the places that give decent returns on GICs all of a sudden, right? Obviously with interest rates going up, it's a benefit if you can save. And so RBC has saying that they have roughly $25 billion of customer money has flowed into GIC over the past few quarters. So interesting how people are shifting out of more risky equity type investments and going for GICs. I mean, we haven't seen GIC rates like this for, I can't remember the last time, right? And basically what they're seeing is basically RBC is saying customers are increasingly, what they're doing is moving their money from the regular checkings account into higher yielding GICs. So that's where they're getting. So a lot of people would normally, you'd normally just be used to be just sitting on cash that wasn't doing anything, and you weren't necessarily wanting to invest it in anything riskier like the stock, into equities or any kind of more risky investments. Plus GICs didn't really pay anything the last decade basically, and it was just kind of didn't make sense to really do anything other than have your money it doesn't necessarily make sense to have your money sitting there, but obviously if you need it for down the road, you don't want to put it in anything with more risk. So it would be sitting in people's checkings accounts and that kind of stuff. So people now look like they're moving it out of that into GICs. I guess the one thing to be careful is obviously making sure that you're not needing to access that, because there's obviously different terms and conditions with GICs that you either might not be able to access those funds until the term is up, or if you do access it, everyone's definitely look at what you're investing in, because sometimes if you lock them in and you break them early, you don't get any interest at all. So you definitely just double check what you're investing in and make sure if you need because if you think you might need the funds, you might not want to lock it in for a long period of time. Everybody's different, just to figure out what you want to go. And MC, yes, great point. So tons of promos. There's tons. We kind of talked about it. We talked about it kind of yesterday, and we've talked about that before. There's so many. This is the problem. This is what drives me crazy, because, and this goes not just for banks, but this goes for anywhere you have any type of service, right? Like cell phones is a perfect example. A cell phone service, internet service, cable. I mean, it's all that. A lot of it's kind of tied into a package, but they're always trying to get new clients, and the existing are never. They're kind of like you're put to the back of the pile, because you're like, okay, well, we've got you already. And the thing especially with banks is like, they're very tempting to give you promos to come on board, extra interest, or an iPad or iPhone headphones, or like whatever, right? Anything to kind of get you in the door. Change your banking, set up your direct payroll deposit, and we give you $250 or whatever it is at the time, and they get you locked in, right? And then all of a sudden, you try, it makes it harder. It does make it, it does make it harder to go to another financial institution, because all of a sudden you've got all your bills set up, you've got all your payroll set up, you've got your loan. If you have a car loan, your payments coming out. So it's a lot of effort to switch that, and it can be kind of frustrating, because it is for new clients, and it's much like for a lot of things. And you do mention that's a good point for EQ. So you'd have everyday savings at EQ. Yeah, they don't offer the higher rates, but they don't do the whole promo. So it's kind of like, it's fair, same for everybody, which is probably pretty good. For savings, it's a good I've talked about before. I can't be bothered to chase the latest thing either. Like, you see all these ads come up all the time, right? Move your account to RBC, and you get a iPhone headphones or something, like whatever they're giving out, the flavor of the day. And it's just like, you just can't be bothered, because I've got everything set up and happy. And that's a good call. So with cell phone internet, go with a challenger brand that offers better non-promo rates. Yeah, the premium brand, they do. You're right. And that's the thing. They get you in, and you kind of sign up, and they get you to stay, right? That's just the way it is. We need more competition. That's basically, I think, what the answer to that is. There's very little competition in Canada. Well, even for banks, I mean, big five banks. There is some. Obviously, EQ is a competitor, but not a big. There's different. There's not to the same extent. And then taking it to like cell phone internet, there's only a small handful of providers, which make it kind of frustrating sometimes, looking for better promos. But I guess the thing too, it doesn't hurt to ask sometimes for different things. Like a lot of times they have the Black Friday specials and that kind of stuff. But as an existing customer, sometimes you might not get it with the banks, but I think the suggestion I have with the banks is keep on top of if you don't want to necessarily switch banks, but keep on top of what products or like what types of accounts they're offering for checkings account. Because perfect example for myself, I bank with CIBC. I've been with CIBC for years, and I have an old account. I had an old account with them from like over a decade ago, and there was no fee, and as long as you kept a certain balance in your checking account. And what would happen is that balance kept increasing. They keep changing it. They're like, well, you're grandfathered in, but we've changed the amount that you have to hold in your checking account, and it became like, and if you go down under it by $1, you're starting to get a charge. And it included unlimited transactions with like interact transactions, and it also included if I was accessing cash with a CIBC a machine, there was no charge. But then they would charge you if you used another machine or something like that, like they all do. But it didn't include anything like e-transfers. And because at the time, I don't actually think there was even email transfers. I can't remember fully, but I've started using more of those, because also too, the transfers that come out like to different, like for example, Shakepay that I use are e-transfers. So I was getting billed for all these things, and I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. And so I looked, and actually there's a better plan that I can have now that will save me money. So long story short is keep an eye on different plans that banks have, and make sure you're still in the right kind of fit for a plan, because you can sometimes save a bit of money there. So I probably saved $20 a month by the end of it, because they have a unlimited plan now. That CIBC's unlimited plan is $16.95 up to, depends on what you do for transactions. And then, so that's the maximum, where before I was getting dinged for all these different costs. I realized, right, once I looked at my statement, and they won't tell you that. They won't like proactively come to you and say, hey, here's a better plan that we're going to make less money on. You have to definitely look at that for yourself to make sure you're in the right plan. So that's kind of a good thing to do, maybe once, even once a year, to make sure. January coming up, New Year, maybe might be a good time to kind of look at all these things, to see if you can save. Look if there's ways going forward to save some money for the year. But EQ to receive your YouTube money is awesome. I will be having my my YouTube monies eventually. But that's good. It goes off into your savings. That's awesome when you get your YouTube millions from the ads. That's awesome. Set it to go somewhere that you don't pay attention to, and see how much it adds up to. And that's right, exactly, with competition. Yeah, HSBC acquired by Royal Bank, or it was RBC. And HSBC every year, yeah, they always had their really, really aggressive mortgage rates. Come usually for the spring, you'd always see it pop up, and you'd even see billboards or hear it on the radio if you're driving your car, or that kind of stuff. And they were very competitive in certain situations, for sure. So that will be gone. Yeah, that's over. It much like what happened with MC when Scotiabank bought ING Direct, and it rebranded to Tangerine, but ING Direct was always known for really good rates as well. But once that was purchased by Scotia Bank, the rates, I think, kind of fell by the wayside. The really good ones, that's what I kind of gathered. I have a Tangerine. I use Tangerine I still use them. It's interestingly enough, because I have a Tangerine MasterCard, because they have a good cashback card on there. Yeah, so I've been with Tangerine back from the old ING Direct days, when you used to have to, in order to deposit into your account, you actually literally would send yourself a check. That's dating myself, but they didn't have, I think they ended up getting this is before, I think, online banking. I don't think there was a way to do it online banking, but to set up to deposit money, you could go to the ING Direct cafe kind of store they had set up. There was one in Vancouver, but to deposit, you would literally write a check to yourself, and it would go, and they would deposit it into your Tangerine account. Those are the days. So dating myself on that one. But I still use them. I don't use them for any other day-to-day banking. I just have it's a cashback MasterCard that goes to, if you do cashback, you get extra cashback if you put it into a Tangerine savings account. So I just kind of save it, and then I transfer it over, usually I use part of that to kind of fund my TFSA as I make deposits. But I don't have any other accounts with them, other than a checking. You have a checking account. I never use it though. It's all free. But I don't have any other GICs. They have good GIC rates though. I have noticed that. Yeah. Yeah, that's the same thing. They amalgamate, and they just kind of become the same, similar, different but the same at the end of the day. So it's kind of like, sometimes there's not necessarily a point. I do know that if people are looking for lines of credit, not that we want to say go borrow money, but I know, back to Tangerine, they do have better, I found better line of credit rates, like unsecured lines of credit rates, than some of the other banks. That's one thing I have noticed. And then the GICs, they have decent rates as well. Oh, okay. Yeah, I still have paper checks to write myself checks. This is above the e-transfer limit. Yeah, I think the e-transfer limit, it probably depends on your account. Sometimes I think the e-transfer is like $2,000 or $3,000 depending. So yeah, it kind of can be a pain if you have to pay for something, or you have to, if you don't, you have to go, if some places don't take a personal, the problem is some people don't have a personal check, and then if you have to pay somebody, they don't like taking checks anymore. I still have checks from when I opened my account. Barely anybody takes checks anymore. I can't remember I think the last time I wrote a check was probably to void on it and give it to someone for prepayment, like pad setup or something like that, I think. But you can go and do that online now too. You can just print an online pad form on there. But I have checks somewhere. I remember my mom used to write checks for groceries. When we used to get groceries, everybody would just take personal checks in the good old days. And whenever I do write a check and fill it out, I have to send it to somebody. It's like my writing is terrible. I can barely read it. I always worry that they're not going to cash it properly because it just looks so bad writing a check out. And so Dax was Scotia. Oh, he switched from Scotia. So the second Scotia charged me for a fee for banking. I switched to Tangerine, fought the charge, and got it credited back. Oh, okay, yeah. Okay, yeah. That's what they do. They change they change them in the. You kind of get a notice going like, oh, your account's going to get changed, and you just don't really pay attention sometimes. And it's like an email or something like that, or it's popped up. It's on the little small print on your online banking. But I like Tangerine. I opened a checking account with Tangerine in hopes of like transferring all my banking there because it was free. But this is the thing, that when you get kind of set up at a bank, it makes it that much more difficult to kind of go through and change everything. So I never did that. But they have good products. I mean, I'm happy with Tangerine. Yeah, and I haven't had any issues. MC, I haven't had any issues with that, the e-transfer. So a friend would send an e-transfer and I would have to confirm his info before depositing it. It was, yeah, I don't know. But again, I've sent e-transfers from Tangerine to Shakepay and it's been fine, but it's kind of more automated with Shakepay, and it's not never like, maybe it depends on the amount you have to transfer. I couldn't say that. I haven't never sent an e-transfer from Tangerine to another person. I've only done that with my CIBC. So sorry, I can't speak for that, but hopefully if it's been a few years, maybe they solved that problem with there. I did try to do on e-transfers. I did try to do just to test out the e-transfer for Wealthsimple and through that Cash App thing, and it hung up for a couple days, and I had to go in and cancel it. I was waiting, and it didn't go through. This is kind of after they first launched it, so I haven't used it since. So I don't know if anybody uses the Wealthsimple Cash stuff, but so far I haven't really been too keen on it. I use the like for my cash kind of day-to-day spending stuff, I use Shakepay for that instead. Seems to work better. The transfers like literally work almost instantly, and then you can just tap your card. The only downside is sometimes, like with tap, depending on the amount, stores don't. Sometimes it's a limit, and the only downside with Shakepay, there's no physical card. Not yet. They're going to be, I think, sending out a physical card so you can be able to put it in the machine if you need to, but they haven't done that yet. But the e-transfers work for that pretty fine. But I can't speak for Tangerine these days. I haven't done it. Yeah. If anybody wants to send me a Tangerine e-transfer, I can try it out. No, I'm just kidding. And Sharma, good morning. Welcome. Good to have you. Lots of people here today. It's good. Lots of good comments with banking. So I guess that's the thing. I guess is the time of year everybody talks about fees and banking. It's probably a good time, like coming into the new year, if things are slowing down. If you got some time off, and maybe it's not the most exciting thing to do over the holidays, but if you got some time off, is go through and see if there's, the goal for the new year is to maybe try and save some fees somewhere. So that's always good to kind of save some money somehow. And just go through. Big thing to check out too is sometimes credit card, like with credit cards, is the fees that you might get charged in your credit card. That's something to be really aware of too. Annual fees can creep up on you, and especially if you don't use a card a lot. I had an old Visa I used to use, and it charges me a fee, and I realized it this year. So it came through, and it's like when you don't, because I've started using my Tangerine card, so you're paying, you get your bill and you do your thing with it, and I stopped using my other card, and that's when I realized, because of course sometimes when you're getting bills, you just don't necessarily get the annual fee, but if you're not using it, all of a sudden I get my bill and I'm like, what the heck, I didn't didn't buy anything with this card. And you go in and look, and of course it's the annual fee. So I have to go in and, adjust that, get that either cancel the card or switch it. The problem is with credit, I mean, it's nice to have an established credit too. And if you've had something for a long time, it's good for your credit. So it's kind of like, but again, if I don't have to pay the, whatever, it's $100 almost or something like that. If I can avoid that, it's $100 in my pocket, which I have to get better at. So this year we'll be going through things again and seeing if there's ways to save some money. Yeah. And I guess we'll ask coming up to the midpoint of the stream. So thanks everybody for watching. If you haven't done it yet, we say it once, is hit the like button. It always helps out. Make sure you've done that as you come in. It would be helpful for the channel. Going forward with the channel, I still have to do my update. I've been busy, unfortunately, fortunately is a good thing. So I haven't had a chance to do a channel update, but I will now, especially now that I've got that Brookfield Asset Management deposit in. I will get to it, I promise. But if anybody's buying anything today, let us know in the comments too. That's always fun to hear what people are looking at, or if they bought anything. That's always kind of the fun thing. And the thing with this is very, very, very true. Minimum dollar accounts is to waive fees. The money sitting dormant versus have it. Yeah, that's the big if, right? And I mean, in the past, a lot of times, the interest rate on your checking account, or like the rate of interest on your checking account versus putting into a savings account was kind of like, no, unless you were chasing a high interest savings account somewhere to get a little bit more, it didn't make a lot of sense to even move it out of your account, because it would make sense to have it in your account to save $16 or whatever it was a month on the balance. But I think you are right. If it's sitting, if the money invested could return an amount higher than the fees charged for having less than minimum required. Yeah, that's the whole thing. I think it's I mean, obviously if you have funds, you still need your data, you need your day-to-day, you need money, right, to pay your you need money to pay for things. So you don't necessarily want to have everything in an investment. But that's always the hard part, right? Because the volatility of the market, if you don't want to invest, it sounds crazy, but you don't want to invest too much money either, right? Because you never know, you might need it for something, right? So but assuming you have enough money in your account going to continue to come in, because you're employed, you're working and you have your regular job payments coming in, and you have a bit of savings in a savings account for a rainy day fund, for any kind of like expenses that come up that you weren't expecting. It's always good to have that. Any extra, it doesn't make sense to keep it just in it's really hard, right? Because you don't want to put it in necessarily something that is too risky. But it could probably, I'm gonna guess, MC, you'd be better off over a long term investing it, as history shows. But it's just a matter of risk that you want to do it, right? And had you put it in something if it was all in something last year that was considered safe, like bonds, you would have been just as down. It would have been bad as well. So it's hard. I think it's maybe MC why we're seeing people finally really flowing into GICs, because they can put it in something that is guaranteed without any risk, with a guarantee, other than risk of cashing it in early and not getting your interest. But that's maybe what people are starting to do. Yeah. And then again, if you're making, say, like I know Wealthsimple pays 1.5% on a savings account. So if you think your savings are going to have to sit there for a year or more anyways, you're probably better off putting it in a GIC. Yeah, everybody's different though. It's always interesting what people are doing. And good morning. Welcome, Nadia. Welcome back. We haven't seen, we saw you yesterday. Yeah, welcome. Minimum required is more netted out to zero buying power. Yeah, that's true. Because if you're keeping that minimum amount, let's just say, like my CIBC one checking account got up to I think it got up to like $5,000. And then of course it would have been better off just to, but you very, very good point, because anything, if it goes below that, you automatically get charged the fees. So it's kind of like, it's almost like, the five that, you can't use that $5,000 and it's not making any money either. So yeah, it's interesting. I just think with monthly fees, there's ways to look for like a better product for you. That's what I found for sure. Uh, and the thing is too, like, just double check. Like, I mean, in a checking account, this is where banks make all their money, right? They charge you for literally everything. And if you're, for example, I noted, like, before I switched my account, and because I had it for so long, you lose track of it, right? And I didn't have necessarily the minimum. If you didn't have the minimum balance, so you'd pay the fee, the monthly fee, and then you'd pay the way mine worked out. It was like per transact. Like, I get a certain number of free transactions, and then that kind of thing. And it was like I was getting like nickel and dimed by the end of the month for all these extra little costs. And I actually had a cost. I always have a balance. I had a balance all the time. It might not have met the minimum balance, but it was because it was a checking account, and they had switched the type of, like, the costs of stuff that I had. Because I was a checking account, I had an overdraft on it, and I was getting charged $5 a month just to have just to have the overdraft, not to access it. Like, and it's like, this doesn't make any sense. So when I finally figured out what plans they offered, my monthly fee is, at the worst case, half of less than half of what I was paying before. So you have to really be careful and look at, like, what they start to charge you for certain things. Like, it was silly. And sometimes, like, some of them will even charge you for statements now. If you get mailed statements, like, they charge you more for a mailed statement than, you get the online statements instead. So it's like nickel and dimed for things, and that's how they make their billions every quarter. It's all these nickel and dime things that you don't pay attention. You don't pay attention until you actually pay attention to, with bank fees. It's pretty terrible, actually. It is pretty terrible. And that's yeah, it's true. There is a fee to hold it is yours. Yeah, it's true. And they lend it out and make more money on it. That's how it works. I guess that makes the world go around. But it's pretty crazy. I mean, there's free options though, like Tangerine. And it's yeah, I guess it just pays to do a bit of legwork and a bit of work to figure out what's the best. But the best isn't necessarily the cheapest, depending what you're needing, that kind of stuff. When you need it, what you have. It depends. Everybody's different with where they have their things. So, but I mean, the good news on all that, there is a lots of alternatives that are great and not don't cost you money, right? Like Tangerine is one of them. EQ Bank, there's Wealthsimple now they have the savings is 1.5%. It's not the best in the market, but doesn't cost you anything, right? It's there's ways to save money. It just, like we talked about, it sometimes it gets difficult. It's not difficult it's just time consuming to move it. That's the thing. And I guess it's true. At least you're getting dividends returned. So hopefully, yeah, that's the thing. It's like, if you bank somewhere, you should probably own the stock, because then at least you're getting some return. It's like having a cell phone. If you have a cell phone with Bell, buy Bell. If you have a cell phone with Telus, buy Telus. It kind of offsets, maybe offsets that. That would be interesting. Like, I know, like, my parents were big Bank of Montreal clients from, like, years ago. I think my dad, when he was a kid, first opened up an account with Bank of Montreal. And had they probably purchased, bank shares back then every month, they probably would have been a lot better off than everybody would have been a lot better off than now. So maybe it goes to show something like that. Yeah. Invest in where you invest in the bank that you bank with, and it doesn't hurt so much when you're paying your monthly fees, because you're at least getting some of it back in the form of a dividend, hopefully. Good point. All right. Well, that was good. That was a good chat. Everybody spoke. Coming up to the quarter two. These always go so fast when everybody puts up lots of comments. So I do really appreciate it. It's always fun to kind of jump on and talk about what's happening. It always goes in some direction, which is different than planned. We start off and talking about one topic, and we always get on to something else. But hopefully everybody finds it useful. There might be a few comments there if people are thinking of. I guess today we were talking a lot about banking, so if there's maybe some people that were watching that were wondering about different banks to kind of look at to save some money, that hopefully will help them out in the comments. Obviously, the comments all get posted. Will be posted. Pull them up on the screen. But if anybody's watching this on the replay and has a comment, you can always leave it in the video as well. So I will get it. I will do my best to respond to it on the channel as well. So we'll get a recap of what's kind of happening. I will get that update video filmed finally. I have to get onto that. I've been slacking. But we do the live streams Monday to Friday, 8:00 a.m. to about 9 Pacific time. So we will be on tomorrow. We'll have a live stream tomorrow. Tomorrow is Friday already, so we'll have the TGIF live stream, which is good. Hopefully we carry on. We maybe get to keep our bit of green in the market going forward. Would be nice to have. And then on Saturday, right, the special Saturday, we have Candace coming on. So it's shared on my channel already. You can set a notification where it's going to be at 10:00 Pacific, so 1:00 for everybody that's in the Eastern time zone. We're going to be talking about YouTube, our channels, and talking about I'm sure we'll talk about investing, because in YouTube is an investment. So for people that are wanting to start a YouTube channel and make a little bit of, hopefully get a little bit of side hustle money coming on. I know there's a few people that follow my channel. I'm going to assume for Candace's as well, that have their own channels. The investing community in Canada, there's a small group of creators that are out there. So I know I watch a lot of other YouTube channels, so we can maybe give you some tips or share some experiences and some ideas if other people have channels. So if anybody wants to, hopefully you'll join on. We will probably talk about investing too. It'll probably go that direction, I'm sure. So just YouTube, but we're going to be talking about our channel. So it'd be great to have you join on for that on the weekend. A little bit different time, but I think it'll be a good weekend crew, and then we'll hopefully have some new people will show up as well from the different channels to co-mingle maybe a little bit if there's people that haven't been onto both of our channels yet. So that'd be good. And I've never actually, which I'm looking forward to. We've actually, Candace and I we've kind of grew our channels kind of around the same time, and we've commented on each other's channels and everything, but we've never been on a live stream together. So I'm looking forward to that. I've never talked to her, but I think it should be good, fun conversation. I think we have a lot of the same, our interests collide. So I think we'll have a good conversation for that live stream on Friday. All right, so that is it. My day is going to start. My coffee is going to be empty now, so I'm going to top that up, and just want to thank everybody again for joining. It's always kind of fun. We'll be back on tomorrow, 8:00 for Friday. Finally Friday, and it's December. It's almost Christmas, which is crazy to think about. So hopefully we did I say Friday? It's Saturday. Did I say Friday? Tomorrow's Friday, regular live stream, 8:00. Saturday's live stream is 10. I will post it again for those watching with the live stream with Candace. I will post it again on my community tab, so you'll check it out. You'll probably see hopefully a notification in there, but the video is posted, so you can go onto the channel and you can hit notify me. It will pop up when we go live on Saturday. I got it right this time. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll catch you all tomorrow. Let's end with a little bit of fireplace, relax, get into our day, and hopefully we have a green day. Let's just maybe we can kind of get that Santa rally after all. We'll see how it goes. Thanks so much, everybody. And on the way out, don't forget, hit that like button. Thanks so much.